right. As you guys know, my name is JoJo. Today I'll be talking to you about some of the concept from Chapter 9, specifically visual narcissism. So I'll be talking a little bit. I have a couple artifacts to show you, and I'll be talking to you about how they relate to the concept and how that concept relates to the future of pop culture rhetoric. So the first thing I want to do is talk about the concept that I'm covering, which, as I stated, was narcissism when talking about it in a visual sense. So a little bit about what the book says is that narcissism is a label that is used to describe excessive self-love or self-image. So when we talk about that in terms of media, what we mean is someone that is showing excessive self-love in a way that is meant to sell products or to sell the image that that character is trying to portray. So a little bit more about this is I've written a couple descriptions in my own words on this slide that you can see. They're the bottom two bullet points. So what we're talking about when we're talking about why visual narcissism is used is we're talking about how products are being sold when we're looking at that self-image that the character that is trying to sell that product or that image has. So oftentimes they're modeling behavior or modeling a specific aspect of self that is seen as a cooler or desirable behavior in our society. So by doing this, the person in that ad is showing behaviors that we as the viewer or the specific target audience are expected to want. They're expected to see this person has this product, and this product is related to things like, as we'll see later, the product in itself is related to like a cool person that wears cool clothes and drives a really nice car. And it's those things that are associated with the image and the modeling behavior that that actor is having when they're trying to present themselves in this way. So when we look at narcissism in a visual media, what we're looking at is that modeling behavior of excessive self-love or excessive imagery. And we're looking at how that can affect our ideas when we're watching shows, when we're watching ads, and why that is something that we have in pop culture.
K, The New Eau de Parfum by Dolce & Gabbana.
So the video that I just had you watch was a recent commercial by Dolce & Gabbana. It was a commercial for their new fragrance, their new cologne for men. So a couple of things that we see there when we're looking specifically at modeling behavior in narcissism, that excess self-love that is being modeled in a way that is meant to sell us product. A couple of the things we see, the first thing I want to mention is the physical items that they're showing are associated with this man who is associated with their brand and their new fragrance. So what they're associating is the motorcycle, the vineyard, the nice clothing. All of those things are items that they're trying to associate as desirable, and they're trying to associate that desirability with their product by having someone model that behavior in a narcissistic way, whether it's outright narcissistic or just a little bit too much of that like self-love that we talked about earlier in the description that the book gives us. This is how narcissism works in visual media, is that they're using that imagery to sell us a product. And it's not just physical items we see. As I've also written here, we see the friend group and the love interest. They're both conventionally attractive groups of people that also fit with that aesthetic of the nice clothing, the nice items, just to really pull together that selling of a product based on the modeling behavior and the items that are being associated with that person in a narcissistic visual perspective way.
This one is for the girls who make it happen. The ones who look in the mirror with confidence, take on the street and own it. Who apply passion to everything they do, speak their mind, and don't take no for an answer. This is for the women with drive in their eyes, who see obstacles as opportunities and show the world their courage and creativity every day in 1,000 ways. This is for every woman who looks in the mirror and sees the power of possibility and the value of her dreams. And if sometimes that mirror is clouded by doubt or insecurity, this is for the girls who know what to do. Put on your strong face. Your nothing's gonna stop me face. Stand tall and proud. Go out and make it happen. Maybelline, New York. Make it happen.
So what I just showed you guys was my second artifact. It's very similar to the first. In this case, instead of being a commercial for a cologne for men, it is a commercial for mascara for women. So the audience here is a little bit different. The target viewer is a little bit changed. Now we still see those items being presented and modeled as being associated with the people that are associated with the product. So we still see the nice clothing and the other nice items. And we again see that image of one of the people is dressed in a nice dress and meets a conventionally attractive male, and they seem very interested in each other. And this is very similar to that scene in the first artifact I showed to you of the love interest, where the attention of the opposite sex is focused on the main person in the commercial, the person that is the narcissistic model in that behavior. So we see that even in commercials targeted towards a different audience, there's still a lot of those similarities in the items that are being presented and the other items that we talk about, such as friend group and associates. So how does this concept of narcissism in visual media affect popular culture as we go into the future? Well, the first thing I want to talk about is the different views that we have of audience. So the two commercials that I showed to you for my artifacts were both towards just the general population. Of course, one was aimed towards men and one was aimed towards women, but they had those similarities of the conventionally thought of as good or desirable commodities. Now, one thing that is important to understand is that these things are going to change when you look at different cultures and especially different subcultures. So when you look at printed ads, they're targeted towards different people, and when they're targeted, those items that are being modeled are changed. So if you're looking at something that is an advertisement towards an alternative subculture, you might see darker colors, darker makeup being used, and different things like that being shown as better. You might not see necessarily a car, you might see something like a motorcycle a little bit more often. So it's things like that that change, and it's important that we understand those changes and those cultural differences when we talk about this in the future, because things that we think of as normal or socially acceptable, or those socially normal things that we're seeing being modeled in this narcissistic behavior, change over time. Not even if they're in a subculture, even our regular, just general culture as Americans is going to continue to evolve. And it's important to understand that those evolutions are going to continue to change that modeling behavior when we talk about narcissism. Which is why it's so important to understand how this is affecting visual media, because visual media is constantly changing, and this concept is also changing within that.